My personal Seamoth submarine floated above the opening of the cave. The depth meter read 70 meters. Nothing to worry about, but I knew this hole went much deeper than that. I glanced at my vitals. I was good. I had recently eaten a large meal of cooked peeper and disinfected water. I had been surprised to find peepers so tasty, and even though the water tasted of chlorine, the meal still made me feel like I was home, instead of stranded on a planet light years away. To my right, a loud boom resonated through the water, followed by the moan of the passive reefback. I had heard it many times before, but it almost felt like it was telling me to stop stalling. I took a deep breath and pushed the throttle forward into the caves. As my depth meter reached 130 meters, the light from above gave up its descent. I was left surrounded by darkness. The lights from my Seamoth were the only thing that kept me from smashing into the sides of the ever-narrowing caves. At 140 meters, the caves opened up into a massive cavern. I felt my throat constrict and my breathing become heavy. The floor and walls were lost in the blackness. Not even the lights from my Seamoth could find the bottom. I adjusted my sweaty grip on the Seamoth controls, took a deep breath to calm down, and pushed forward into the black. Soon the opening behind me vanished as well. I felt the panic rise and forced it down again. Lithium was in these caves, a valuable resource. In the distance, I saw a massive glowing eye fade into view. I quickly tried to stop, but before I could, another glowing eye appeared, followed by another, and another. Mushrooms. Massive mushrooms, with a large hole in the center of their glowing caps. As I moved forward, I was relieved to find myself at the well-lit floor of the cavern. Littering the floor, I could see smaller mushrooms, interspersed with crystalline lithium. I would have whooped with joy if I knew someone would hear me. I climbed from the Seamoth and began to gather the abundance of lithium. When I turned to return to my ship, I saw that the lights of my sub were surrounded by dozens of small fish, all of them foreign, but none of them seemed aggressive. I reached out and grabbed one that was mostly eyeball. I stuffed the fish into my sack. Later I would see how it tasted. Perhaps it would taste better than the peeper, but I doubted it. Slipping back into my Seamoth, I felt myself relax. Now all I had to do was turn around and head back. From the corner of my eye I saw familiar, cyan eyes rush forward. A bone shark. I felt the Seamoth jerk as it was slammed into a spin. I fought to regain control, only to see the gaping maw of the bone shark as it once again plowed into my small submersible. Lights and alarms blaring. I knew the sub couldn't take much more, so I pulled back to get some distance. I realized that I'd gotten turned around a second too late. A large crack filled my ears, and I was forcibly ejected from the Seamoth as it ran into the floor, unusable. Cussing to myself, I began to swim upward, away from the bone shark lurking among the mushrooms. I repeatedly told myself that I'd gotten away, but it didn't help. My mind kept seeing it lurking there, just out of sight behind me. I was surrounded by darkness now. The glow of the mushrooms lost behind me with the comforting lights of the Seamoth. I pushed on, knowing that above me was the opening that led out to freedom. My muscles burned, and the oxygen gauge warned me that my backup supply was running low. My body collided with the roof of the cavern, sending pain searing through me. Panicked, I felt around for the opening that led out, knowing that it was already too late. I screamed into the dark waters of the foreign planet as the last of my oxygen disappeared.